Hello, and today we are looking at the first or second gen, depending on how you look at it, American MBT, the M60. A heavily upgraded M48 patent successor, the M60 was a workhorse for the US military for 3 decades, with many variants including the M60A1, the M60A1 Rise, the M60A2, and the M60A3. Armed with a very effective M68 105mm gun, a variant of the British L7 105mm gun. Today we are looking at just the M60. We will be saving the other variants for another video. The 1950s saw many new tank designs being trialed and tossed, with very few making it to completion. America's newly christened M48 90mm patent, some call the first MBT, had just arrived in 1952, but the 90mm gun it was armed with left much to be desired. During the Hungarian Revolution, a Hungarian T-54 was tested by the British, using the 20-pounder/90mm gun, to test the effectiveness of the penetration against the T-54's soaked armor. What they found was the 20-pounder/90mm guns could not pin the armor reliably, so work began on the British L7 105mm gun. This gun was used on the Centurion, the Leopard 1, and the M60, though on the M60 it was called the M68 105mm gun. By 1957, the US Army had released a revised tank with the M68 105mm gun called the M60. It had a new engine, new transmission, and a new 105mm gun. There is some debate if the M60 or the M48 can be called the first generation MBT, some saying the M48 is the first and some saying the M60 is the first. The reason there is some debate is because the M48 patent did not get the upgraded 105mm until 1975, almost 20 years after the M60 was introduced with its 105mm. And the M60 was, for all purposes, just an upgraded M48 patent. So that is why there was debate on which is called the first or second generation MBT. For all intents and purposes, the M60 was almost identical to the M48 with armor and layout, but there were some notable changes. The first off was the armor for the tank was a one-piece steel cast which they divided into 3 main pieces. The mantlet was rolled homogeneous armor. The M60 was the last American tank to have rolled homogeneous armor. The main difference though was that while the lower plate was the same boat-like design as the M48, the upper plate was more sloped, giving it a beak, and that beak was up to 6 inches thick, which was more than the M48 patent's thickest point, which was 4.3 inches. This additional armor only added 2.2 tons to the total weight of the M60 over the M48, which was 50.5 tons compared to the M48's 48.5 tons. The other notable change was in the turret, which was mostly the same, but had a smaller turret on top where the commander's hatch would normally go, which housed a 12.7mm heavy machine gun. This machine gun was remote operated, which protected the commander, which controlled it from enemy fire if they shot at the machine gun, and this machine gun was used primarily against slightly armored vehicles, helicopters, and low-flying aircraft. As stated earlier, the gun was a variant of the British L7 105mm, one of the most successful guns of the 20th century on a tank. The M68, as it was called in the M60, was reliable, had good pin values, and could fire a wide variety of ammunition. It could fire APDS tracer rounds, armor-piercing discarding saber, HEP-T rounds, high-explosive plastic tracer rounds, Heat-T, which is high-explosive anti-tank tracer rounds, HESH, high-explosive squash head, APFSDS tracer rounds, armor-piercing fin-stabilized discarding saber tracer rounds, APFSDS-DU, which is armor-piercing fin-stabilized discarding saber depleted uranium, and canister rounds of various types. Another benefit to using a gun based off of the L7 was in the heat of battle, it could be repaired with non-American parts. The M60 was powered by an air-cooled, twin-turbo, diesel V12 Continental engine, which produced 750 horsepower and gave the tank a respectable 15.08 power-to-weight ratio. It is alleged to have an operational range of about 300 miles. The engine was later used on the upgraded M40 A5 patent as well. It was paired on the M60 with an Allison transmission with 2 forward and 1 reverse gear. The M60 was not a fast tank. It had a top speed on a road of 30 miles per hour, and its off-road capabilities were not amazing either, but it had a smooth ride, especially compared to the M48. The M60 platform saw many wars across many environments, from Vietnam to the Middle East and in South America. The M60s used by the American Army in Vietnam were modified to just lay bridges and assist with the engineering corps. The first M60s used in actual combat were by the Israeli government and were named the Magach 6 and the Magach 7 in the Yom Kippur War in 1973. Its enemy were T-62 tanks armed with the 115mm gun, and they performed very well. M60A1, A2, A3 models saw combat in Iran, Iraq, the Gulf War, Operation Desert Storm, the Lebanese Civil War, and many more countries across the Middle East, South America. Many of these are still in use today, with Israel, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt still having considerable amounts in their fleet. The M60 is a very successful tank platform that originated in 1957 and is still in use in the year 2023 in many small countries around the Middle East and South America. While America moved on to the formidable M1 Abrams platform, the M60A3 was not officially retired from the National Guard until 1997, 40 years after it initially came out. The tank is still a solid option for many small countries around the world today. While it was not flashy or fast like the Leopard 1 or the Centurion, it was dependable, easy to maintain, and upgradable. The gun was accurate, reliable, and a well-trained crew could reload it every 6 seconds. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Catch you in the next one.